Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Golfin, and this is the interview show on Most Casual Gaming. Today, I have a special guest for you, the one and only Josh Mattingly from IndieStatik.
Hello, how's it going?
Well, it's going great. How are you doing today?
I'm so good, man. Life is great. The sun is shining in Los Angeles. It makes me happy. Um, and I'm hanging out with you, so it couldn't be
Yeah,
better.
well, it's kind of the opposite here. There's no sun, there's only rain and wind.
Yeah, I hear that a lot about
The UK
the
weather.
Western European
Yeah.
region.
Well, yeah. So, let's start this off with a fairly simple question. How did you decide to create a channel all about video games, especially indie games?
It's funny actually. I had a couple friends who were doing YouTube for a while, and I didn't even know that that was a thing that you could do. That there was like a I knew that people made videos on YouTube, and I understood that, but I wasn't aware that there were networks that people could join, and there were so many people doing this and this kind of culture behind it. And when I found out that my buddy had been doing it for a while and had collaborated with some people that I kind of respected in the community, I thought that this is something that I want to do, and I wasn't going to stop until I did it. So I just started. I just kind of started, and I knew I wanted something that was going to be different from a lot of other people. I've been into indie games for a long time, and I kind of for a while, Bytejacker was like the guy that everyone would go to for their indie videos, game related stuff on YouTube, and he kind of stopped working on his channel and went over to Revision 3, and so I saw that like that niche that kind of needed to be filled again, and it just kind of was perfect for me. And then I just started making really terrible Let's Plays because I didn't know what I was doing, and having to record and do commentary at the same time was it proved to be a big challenge for me. But then I kind of figured out the format, and now that's kind of where I'm at now. But I guess it was just because I saw that people were doing it and it looked like fun, and I wanted to get on that. I wanted to get on the bandwagon. It was just like it's too cool of a community not to want to be a part of it.
Yes, indeed. That's one of the good bandwagons, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I guess bandwagon might be the a term that we shouldn't use, but no, it's good. I like it. It's a great community.
Okay, okay. So, you also have a vlog channel, don't you?
Yeah, I started that recently, actually. Well, the channel itself, I registered in '06 because I had the foresight of like I want YouTube.com/Josh Mattingly. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it, and it just kind of sat there. And for a while, actually, I did these really crappy videos, like kind of like a la Phil DeFranco, and I just didn't know what I was doing, and it wasn't original, so I felt unoriginal, and I felt kind of gross trying to be like somebody else, because it wasn't like I was inspired by him and I was trying to do my own thing. I literally was just trying to do what Phil DeFranco was doing, and so it's like, nah, I'm gonna stop that. And then the channel kind of sat dormant until recently when I thought, I'm a comedian, I guess. I like improvise, and I do a lot of stage stuff around Los Angeles. And I wanted a place where I could put up, if I ever do some sort of sketch comedy, or if I have an idea for another video that's not gaming related, I wanted a place to be able to put it. And that's kind of the idea behind building that, is because obviously if I did some random thing and put it on IndieStatik, people would give me crap for it, and rightly so. There doesn't need to be anything besides indie game stuff on there. So I decided that I was just going to start doing, regular vlogs. And I've had a lot of people ask me on IndieStatik or my Twitter, if I sound like an old man. Asking me on the Twitter, and so asking me to do vlogs and kind of get my opinion on other things besides games. So I figured that that would be a good way to do that. Now, of course, it's a vlog channel, and there's not really any sort of like format behind that, except for I sit in front of a camera and talk. So I really have there's not really a formula behind it. I just kind of sit there and yammer about whatever I'm thinking of when I wake up that morning. But yeah, it's been good, and it's growing slowly, and hopefully it gets to a point where people can see that I'm not just Josh from IndieStatik, but I'm like, oh, Josh, a real human being that has other thoughts and opinions about life and whatever, because I feel like so many people, and for me, that I'm doing it early on in like my YouTube career, I guess, because I want people to be able to see that I have other things to say, that I'm not trying to like flood those things into my gaming content because they don't belong there. But also I don't want people to be surprised when I want to talk about something else, because, you know, as a human, I have a lot of other things that go through my mind every day. So, yeah, so far it's working out, and you know, we'll see. Hopefully people appreciate the fact that I'm not just a gamer, but I'm also, like, you know, a real down to earth kind of guy. Because shit, man, there's so much stuff going on in the world that needs to be discussed, and stuff that gets under my skin just like everybody else. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned that you do some comedy in Los Angeles. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, man, a while ago I got into doing improv comedy, and essentially I was doing what is considered short form, where it's kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyways, where you get up and you get a suggestion and you guys do some games, and then people laugh. And then I saw what is called a herald, which is a form of long form improv, and it's essentially like a 3-act play. And it just blew my mind, and I wanted to do that. It was so clever, just watching people essentially write a story on the spot for 25 minutes was incredible to me. So I started doing that in Arizona, actually, when I lived there. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, I started studying at the Improv Olympic West out here, as well as the Upright Citizens Brigade, and have been, you know, now I teach it, as well as I teach improv. I coach some teams on the side. I perform, you know, weekly around Los Angeles. And it's just such a freeing thing for me to be able to get on stage and become somebody else. And for that 25 or 30 minutes or an hour-long show, I'm just like, I get to make people laugh. I get to be stupid and silly, because I am just naturally stupid and silly. So I can kind of, you know, take that energy and put it into something useful and good that hopefully people, you know, enjoy. So I often tell people, if I had everything taken away from me and I could only do 2 things, I would teach improv and I would be an improviser, because it gives me so much joy.
That's great. Well, we should all do things that we enjoy doing.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, it's like public speaking is one of the most terrifying things for a lot of people in this world. I think it's like next to drowning is like the most terrifying idea.
Spiders.
Yeah, like spiders, drowning, and then public speaking for some reason. And so improvising for a lot of people, you know, there are corporate events that happen that people will go and teach improv to these people who need to learn how to speak to, whether it's their coworkers or, you know, run a conference or something. So for a street cleaner going by, that's loud and annoying. So for a lot of people, it kind of helps them just get out of their head and realize that nobody's out to get them, and you can be on stage, you could be a complete goofball, and nobody's judging you for it. And I think that's the first step, is like realizing that what you're doing is great and you're having some sort of impact, and it's really fun.
Okay. So, actually, about your vlog channel, I watched some of those videos myself, and one of them you mentioned that you would like to travel the world at some point, to go to a lot of different countries or even places in the United States. Would you give me an example of a country that you would love to visit, like, in the nearby future?
Yeah, well, nearby, I think I will be coming to Great Britain in September for Eurogamer, so that's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. There's a lot of guys that I work with on my website that are based in the UK. So for me, they're friends of mine. They're people who write for IndieStatik.com, and I've never actually met them in person. So it'll be a fun time to just go to the convention, as well as, hang out and meet these people that I respect so much. But all-time country, if there's one place that I could visit, it would be Japan for sure. I grew up kind of loving Japanese culture. I love historic Japan. I love anime. I love the food. I've dated several Asian women. It's just like one of those things where for whatever reason, I am just infatuated with that country and the culture behind it. So that's got to happen. Japan's got to happen. I would love to go to Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, just kind of that whole region of Asia. And then the UK and Ireland, My last name Mattingly actually comes from, in England, there's a town called Mattingly. It's slightly different because apparently when they came to America, they dropped the E. So it's Mattingley, Mattingly, England. And that is where a lot of my, I guess, ancestors came from. So I just want to go and like check that place out because, I guess I'm big into lineage and things. So, and then hit up Ireland for the other half of my lineage because I'm about as Caucasian as they come, Irish and English. So yeah, I wanna check that all out. But I think it's hard. Japan and the UK for sure.
Okay, that's a pretty good choice, to be honest.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Having traveled Europe, honestly.
How many
have
you been everywhere?
Not everywhere, but I've been to a lot of countries. I've been to Ukraine, obviously Russia, Sweden, Finland, Norway, France, Italy, Switzerland, and that's about it, I think. And Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania.
That's amazing. Like, I think about that because in America, our states are as big as a lot of the European countries, just in terms of land mass. So, when I travel from California to Nevada or California back to Michigan where I grew up, it's like that's kind of what you're doing, except there's an awesome culture in all of those little areas that, it's basically we have one American culture with subcultures obviously within, but they're not, obviously if you go from Poland to say from Poland to, I don't know, Ireland, that's going to be vastly different. From Norway to Germany, maybe not so vastly different, but like it's going to be, there's a definite difference there. And then when you get to Eastern Europe, you talk about going to the Ukraine. Like I would love to go to Ukraine. I would love to go to the Czech Republic. I don't know if it's cliche to say, but Prague, I think, is like such a beautiful city, and it's like weird, dirty kind of way, but it just looks gritty and cool, and old and gothic, and that to me is like, I need to see stuff like that in my life. This life is too short, and there's too much to do in this huge world.
That is true. Well, yeah, considering the fact that we both do gaming-related content, we should probably talk about gaming a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that would be great. So let's start with a basic question. What got you into gaming? What was the first game you played that made you feel like, oh my god, that's what I want to do?
Well, the earliest memories I have of playing video games, I was very, very young. I've always had some sort of console in my house. I was born in the early 80s, so I've got... my dad had an Atari laying around. Pitfall and Pac-Man are like the two games that I have vivid memories of watching being played. And then when I was, 4 or 5, he bought a Nintendo. And once we had the NES, man, it was like over with. I would sit there and just, I would try to beat... Actually, my dad bought the thing for us like for Christmas, but he would play it before Christmas and then just box it back up every night. So he'd unbox the thing, plug it in, play Super Mario Brothers or Duck Hunt because he had like the stock game that came with it, and then he'd put it back into the box. I thought that was so funny, and then finally gave it to us on Christmas, like he'd never even seen it before. But really, I think. Man, my whole life I kind of grew up with it, and then we got a Genesis and a Super Nintendo, and that like changed my life. The Genesis changed my life. A lot of people have, I guess, I don't know if it's like an allegiance to either Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis, but I played Sega more, I think, because at one point in time we had this thing called the Sega Channel. Are you familiar with the Sega Channel?
I have heard of it. Yes.
Yes, it's crazy. Like nobody really knows what it is. It was only around for a couple, like maybe 1 or 2 years, but it was so ahead of its time where like you plug this cartridge into your Genesis and then it went to your cable, and then you could actually get 50 games a month coming from your cable provider to your console. It essentially what it was like, a digital distribution of video games before that sort of idea even existed. And so all of a sudden I had all of these games that I never would have played before. And then really what got me into it is when I started playing PC games, and then it was just over. I remember playing Diablo 1 and just thinking that was the coolest thing I had ever seen. When Half-Life came out, Half-Life blew my mind.
Oh, yeah.
And then when Counter-Strike came out, I was a competitive Counter-Strike player, and I was on, I would do league play and travel a bit, and it was the coolest. That and Unreal Tournament also. Unreal changed my life. I never really got into Quake so much, but first person shooters really started revving me up. And then that was kind of it. And then I think as games got bigger and crazier, it's not that I lost interest in them, but everything kind of seemed the same. It's like, how many guns, how many explosions, how many this, how many that can we possibly pack into one game? And the thought and the story, I think, started to suffer a little bit because of it, and some of the franchises. Now, obviously, there are still a lot of AAA titles and franchises out there that are great and that still have like really great stories and writing and stuff. But when I started playing independent video games, it was more because I was attracted to the retro feel of them, because it made me feel, I have this like nostalgic thing where if something can make me feel like I'm a kid and I don't have any worry, then I love it for whatever reason. Because I'm, as an adult, we're so stressed about so many things. So if you can make me feel like I'm at my dad's house when I'm like 9 years old playing a video game, then it's like that little, like, I'm just going to be in my little world for a minute as I play this game. And then when I started seeing how involved they can be and how in depth the stories were, I was just hooked, man. And when I played Braid for the first time, I literally cried at the end of Braid, and I have no problem admitting that, because I had gone through a breakup prior to that, and it just like the whole, not to spoil it for anybody who hasn't played Braid, and if you haven't, you should, but it reminded me, his story reminded me so much of what I was going through, even though apparently it might be some metaphor for like nuclear war or whatever. But I cried, and I'm like, holy crap, a video game made me cry. And then I was like, what's wrong with me? Am I like going through some weird crisis or what? But I realized that no, like games just could be that awesome and really move people emotionally. And then I was kind of hooked to that whole world. And now that I'm so busy kind of covering that genre of video games, I haven't really looked to, man, I don't remember the last AAA title I sat down and played that I like actually went out and bought to bring home and play, because I'm just so busy and I can't anymore. But I guess that's a long-winded answer of
No problem.
got into video games.
Okay, so that was a really good answer. Yeah.
There's so much, it's amazing to me when you can get into a game, but or into like a specific genre of games, and then you kind of realize how much is out there, and realize that, for the longest time I was just FPS guy all the way. Oh, WoW also. I forgot that. I mean, WoW took up 4 years of my life. I pretty much played up until Cataclysm, with like maybe one break in there. I had an account after Burning Crusade came out. I had like a level 70 hunter, level 70 warlock, level 70 mage. I was Alliance. Don't hate me for it. I don't know, for whatever reason, people. It's really funny. I'm like, okay, there are Alliance players out there, because obviously I was playing with them. But every time I tell somebody that I rolled Alliance, they're like, ugh, gross. I'm like, well, sorry, everybody else that played Horde. But I sold my account for $900, and I couldn't even. I'm like, wait, what? You want to pay me almost $1,000 because you just don't want to put in the time to level up your characters and get the gear? Okay. And then I kind of regretted it, because I ended up picking the game back up again about 6 months later.
Great.
Which I guess that's kind of how it is for a lot of WoW players. It's like a love-hate relationship. Every time they patch something and you don't really like it, you're like, I'm gonna get rid of this. But yeah, that game always had me coming back.
Well, yeah, I understand what you mean. I've been playing WoW for a while. I've stopped. Yeah, I've stopped pretty much at Cataclysm.
Yeah. When Mist came out, I just was like, I don't know. Didn't really want to go back and play. There's just something now about WoW that it's so easy now for people. When I was playing, shit, you started at level 1 and you had to get all of your own gear and go through the levels, and it was hard, and you had to grind and put in all the time and effort. And now they're like, all right, well, here's recruit a friend, and also if you buy the latest expansion, you can start at level 20 or whatever the case, and then like skip all of the stuff. And now I understand, maybe because the level cap's so high, but it just feels easy now. Like it doesn't seem like a challenging game anymore. It just seems like they're kind of pandering to the audience and also not wanting to lose their subscribers, because at this point, like, yeah, the game's been out for a long time. What's the next WoW going to be? Like, we don't know, but in the meantime, they're just going to try to keep milking it for every penny that it's worth, and that's, I think, where I get kind of turned off by it. Now, I do appreciate that they're writing things into the game that are from the books and stuff, because that's really cool for people who pay attention to the lore and people who actually are like big Warcraft fans. But the game itself, for me, just kind of lost its luster, I think. I don't know.
Well, all I can say is that I restarted playing in Mists of Pandaria, and I decided to see how long it will take me to level up from 1 to 95. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
For 1 to 95 without any help. Like, I created a fresh account and I just decided to go with it. It took me, well, I played fairly intensively, but it took me 6 days. So, compared to what it used to be,
yeah,
it's still pretty much nothing.
Yeah, no kidding. 6 days. And that's 6 days played time or just 6 days?
Time.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts. It's nuts.
Well, there we go. All games change. Some games change not in a good way.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
Yeah, it's still playable, obviously.
Yeah.
So, after all this discussion of games, what would you say is your favorite? Let's make it a bit. Let's make it a bit more specific. Let's say, what's your favorite game of the last 5 years?
Oh, geez. Man, that's really tough. You're throwing me right on the spot here. Well, you know what? How about this? There are games that I love that they'll always be part of my favorites. You know, like if I had a top 5 kind of thing, like TMNT Turtles in Time, for example, I think is one of the best brawlers ever. Like, that game is so good. I would put that in one of my favorites for sure. In terms of Ames, Braid is one of my favorites. You know, FTL, which just came out this past year, was incredible. Crap. It's funny because, you know, I play so many games now because I have to, that I get lost and admittedly my memory isn't what it used to be, and I kind of get lost in the sea of games that I've been playing. You know, I did actually, I liked Call of Duty Black Ops. I like Black Ops and Black Ops 2. I was a Call of Duty fan. I did play that, you know, for all you Battlefield fans out there. I'm sorry, I never really got into Battlefield. I know it's a great game, but Call of Duty was just kind of like, I started playing that. Call of Duty 1 even. Call of Duty 1 and 2 were so great because I love World War II. I mean, I don't love that it happened, but I love the history behind it. I'm a kind of a history buff, so I loved playing those kind of games. Any like war game will really, really suck me in because I like the history and feeling like I'm a part of that time or the era, I guess. League of Legends is definitely up there. That, you know, I spent so much time with League, and I still will go back to it from time to time, just because it's great. You know, it's a great game. I love the competitiveness of it. Man, I'm trying to think of more. I think that's like a pretty decent handful, though.
Well, that was pretty much your...
of games that I just adore. Yeah, other than that, I think I'm kind of drawing a blank. When you say 5 years, I'm like, man, 5 years is such a long time at this point. Like, so many games came out in just the past 1 or 2 years, you know?
Well, yeah, that was kind of a failure on my part.
No, yeah, but that's what it is. Like, how do you narrow down what your favorite game is? It's like your favorite movie, or the most
Well,
attractive male or female. It's like it's such a subjective, objective thing. Yeah, I think of like retro games, honestly, when I start thinking of my favorites, things that really made me appreciate video games. Um, there's a game called Skitchin. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
no,
Uh, Skitchin, do you know what Skitchin is?
no.
It's such an awesome game. You play an inline skater. You're like a rollerblader, and it's crazy like grunge music. And it came out for Sega Genesis. And you just skate down a street. You're trying to it's a race, and you grab onto people's bumpers as they drive by to try to catapult yourself forward. And there's like weapons you pick up, and you beat the hell out of each other. It's kind of like Road Rash, except on rollerblades, and that game was just like the coolest thing I'd ever played when I was younger. But those are the games that I think of when somebody asks me what my favorites were. It's like those games that I can look back and go, yeah, that game like made me want to keep playing video games. Yeah, I miss that kind of stuff. I don't have those reactions anymore to games that I did. The wonderment, I think, is kind of been taken away as I get older. And I don't know if it's because I know what goes into video games or the technology that people use nowadays, or if there's just that wonderful sense that we got as kids playing games. It was just so larger than life and so imaginative and cool. And now I think that the things have grown so much that it's like, I don't know if I'm jaded now, but I can look at a game and go, meh, okay. And then somebody else, it's like, what do you mean? Like, look, the graphics and the gameplay and all this stuff. But I just don't have that, that giddiness that games used to give me. Oh, I mean, I shouldn't say I never do, because there are games that come along that really tickle me, or make me feel a certain way. But when I was a kid, man, those were the best. The best.
All right, all right. So let's look into the future here. What would be the games that you're looking forward to playing right now?
There is a game that I have been waiting to come out for a while called Owlboy. It is a platformer where you play an owl boy. And that game, it just looks great. It's been on the radar for quite a while now, and I'm really looking forward to that. Path of Exile just came out. Now, I haven't...
I think it's in the open beta at the moment.
Yeah, it is currently, and I have a key, and I had played it, and it's just... it's not been... The servers haven't been keeping up. So for a lot of people, they've been having issues and stuff. But I'm looking forward to actually playing that, because I think for a lot of people, Diablo 3 kind of fell short, and maybe Path of Exile could be a game that, can kind of carry that. Looking forward to that for sure. Treasure Adventure game, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but they're doing a reboot, like a full overhaul of the game. The game itself is wonderfully amazing. So I'm looking forward to that when that comes out. There is a game on the horizon that I've been looking at for a while now, and we're not sure when it's going to come out yet, but it's called Cube World. I'm not sure if you've seen that at all, but it's essentially like Minecraft, but smaller cubes, and not mining. It's like it's kind of like an MMO, but with that look, and it looks really great. And now they have there's videos of combat that you can look at now, where one of the guys ends up slaying this big dragon or drake or something, and when it dies, it's like cute almost, because all of the blocks just kind of crumble, but the animation is done in such a way that just looks really cool, and the game itself just looks really innovative and imaginative. So I'm looking forward to that. And then hopefully Starbound will be coming out sooner than later, which is the guy Ty, who did Terraria. It's his new project, so that's gonna be incredible. I can't wait for Starbound. It looks so good. But those are the games I'm really looking forward to, coming up in 2013.
Okay, that's a pretty expansive list over there.
Yeah, hopefully they're all great.
Well,
Hopefully they all exceed expectation.
yeah, we'll see how it goes. So,
Yeah.
now we're pretty much at the end of the interview. Discussed a lot of things. Would you like to mention any series that you are currently doing?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I'm working on right now, and I would kind of urge everybody to check it out, is a show called The Green Light that I'm doing with Jesse Cox on his channel, youtube.com/omfgkata. And that I'm really proud of because, you know, I've been working in, you know, kind of indie games journalism for the past year and a half now. And Jesse's always really been in indie games, but, you know, he's doing so much on his own channel. Then we kind of came together. And the idea is that we're looking at games that are on Steam Greenlight that we are passionate about and really want to get, you know, want to see them on Steam because we feel that they are deserving enough to be on that platform. And so what Jesse and I are doing is kind of going through, because there's so many games on Greenlight now, is we're going through and we're picking the ones that we think are, you know, of great quality and we want to showcase and kind of get behind and put the stamp of approval on, so to speak. Not that our opinion should be like the end all for anybody, but these are just games that we like, that we're passionate about. So we go ahead and do a playthrough of them, or like a first look, I guess, like the first 20-25 minutes of a game, and then urge people to up on Greenlight to hopefully get that taken care of, or get them on Steam, and hopefully we have some sort of impact in the community that way. And then similarly, I do, say, an interview or a review for the game, either of the game or with the game's developers, and then I put it up on IndieStatik, so we have kind of like this co-op kind of thing going on to get, you know, some serious exposure to these smaller devs that are trying to get their games picked up. So that's really fun for me. And then you know, people can see me every Wednesday on the Game Station's channel, and I do Remag. I do my little indie segment on Remag with Lisa Foyles, and those are pretty much like the main series that I do now, other than my own, obviously, which are the Super Indie Spotlight, Super Indie Update, and then I do a top 5 free indie games every Wednesday on my channel, youtube.com/IndieStatik.
Okay, so there you go, viewers. You can check out all of those. There will be some annotations under the video with Josh that will lead to different channels, and there will obviously be links in the description below. So,
please check them out.
Yeah, thank you, Josh, for coming to this interview. It's been
thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure, and I hope we will see you again sometime.
Yeah, anytime.
Okay, goodbye.
All right, take care.